I got a question for you, Mr. Mix. What's happening right now, and we're talking about financing things, for a question for you as well, Mr. Mills. We just voted to approve a $54,000 electric repair to the club that was needed in this last meeting. And there are other things that I see that we're having to do, like you're talking about the building right now, for the amount of money that would need to be spent, invested to build that. And as far as financing these types of things, right now, basically, we're taking money out of the cash reserve, Mr. Mills, to pay for it.
Yeah, it'll, at the end of the fiscal year, kind of wash out between, where there was vacancies and savings, pluses and minuses.
Okay.
It'll just basically come out of normal course of business.
Okay, that's what I thought, and I wanted to make it, find out, get some clarity on it. Now, remember back a few years ago, the issue of the Thompson Park pool came up as far as how you folks were going to finance that, and if it was going to be paid for out of the reserve fund, or if it was going to be bonded for. And because of the complexion of the council at the time, with two very conservative individuals that were at the time, and they voted against that bonding issue, it wasn't until the mayor came in his term that you were convinced that there was some sense to be made about bonding for an issue, where that you would finance it over a period of time, rather than paying cash out of the reserve fund and reducing the reserve fund. So, I'm wondering to myself, as we see these things be brought up before us, about the $350,000 for this building, we're making an assumption that there's only three of us that would be voting for something to be done because we see the necessity of it, where it, especially when it involves the golf course. And I think to myself, well, what if we had a person, another of the two of you, that would join us on bonding for something, which in Mr. Mills' opinion, you'd have to make the determination, is it better to pay cash, or is it better to bond on some of these things that need to be done? Or are we putting off making a decision because we can't get the fourth vote, and we're going to be taking more money out of the reserve fund? You know what I mean? I don't know if you have some thoughts on what I'm talking about.
No, I remember that discussion,
Yeah.
and I think that we all wanted to bond for it, and the votes weren't there, and so we, voted to pay cash. And then the mayor came in and gave this real spiel in January of 2020, and why we should pay for the balance of the pool cost by bonding, and how it would help improve the Moody's rating, and that to be fiscally responsible, that was the right thing to do.
You're right, for two pools. You forgot that part, not three.
No, that
Yeah,
was.
no, you forgot. It
No,
was for
we're
two.
talking about the Thompson Park pool.
Yeah, it was for two pools, and I was in favor of.
No, you're not, no,
Yeah,
that's,
No.
No, let's
The
get some
Thompson Park
clarity.
pool was the bonding for, and that you're talking about now a third pool, and I was always been in favor of two pools, you're right, fiscally responsible.
but you were
And-
against the park pool. You threatened to sue.
I
if you
didn't
got
threaten
in.
to sue.
You threatened to
But
break.
why do you make stuff up?
You threatened to break the contract.
No, you said I threatened to
You would
sue.
stop it. If you were elected, you would stop the project.
But I didn't threaten to sue. Why are you lying?
I'm not lying.
You said I threatened to
Why
sue.
are you lying?
You just got through saying I
You
threatened
lie
to sue.
all the time, Mayor.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Can you give me the examples?
Okay, the other meeting, you said there was no property tax decrease rate. There was.
The
I have-
levy, I said the levy stayed the same.
You said there was no property tax
Go
decrease.
back and look at the tape. I said the levy stayed the same. The levy did not decrease.
Disagreed with me when I said that the property tax rate decreased, I think, by 1.74%.
I guarantee you, if you go back and look at the tape, you'll see that I said
Anyway,
the
that has
levy did
nothing
not
to
decrease.
do
So
with
what
the
am I
budget.
lying
Has
about?
nothing to do with the budget.
Yeah, but you brought it up.
I am talking about what you said January of 2020, when you asked us to bond for the park pool. That's the only thing I'm talking about. And you had a spiel, and I know I have it saved somewhere, because I figured it would be worth mentioning. But you did talk about, for the bonding, and it's in the minutes, about why it was important
And I'm
to
not-
bond for that. That's
I'm
all I'm
not-
talking
I'm
about,
not
is one
denying
pool.
that.
Maybe Mr. Mills could explain in detail what happened at that time, what was suggested about the
There's no
bonding
need to argue
versus
about
the
it.
paying
Not
cash.
sure what you're asking. I know when Mayor Smith started.
Yes.
We were able to pass a bond ordinance for costs not yet incurred. You can't go back in time and borrow for stuff you've
For
already
what was
spent.
left, yeah.
But you can pass a bond ordinance at any part, during a project, and borrow for what's still not incurred. I'm not
Okay.
sure what else you want me to answer.
Right, and that was regarding the Thompson Park pool's cost? Okay, just that. And your analysis of that decision was what at the time? Rather than taking,
Any purchase of that magnitude, be
Yes.
it a pool or golf course or land, I would like to bond and pay
Over.
over the life of the asset.
okay, and the
So-
reasoning for that, so that the public...
So you don't drain
is-
your reserves, and then you're in a pinch in a sales tax or hydro drought, and your reserves are gone.
Okay, all right,
What
good, very good.
happens down the road when you have all these bonding payments in your sales tax or hydro bills?
They're fixed. We cut other things, personnel,
Well,
projects.
We do. And we have an arena right now that was done, the bonding was done for that now, that's costing about $1 million a year. I'm not faulting that. I think it was needed. I do believe that it was an important project for this community to have, for all the reasons we all understand. But when this particular decision-making process, I think, as we just are talking about now, comes down to whether we build a building that we think we should because it's needed, or whether we look for space to store something because we know, we all assume that there's going to be 3 votes to do something to help the city and 2 votes that will be against any project that would be helpful, because we can't have somebody cross over and bond with us on an issue that there's certainly a majority for. And then the question comes up about, well, 3 are voting for, this to be done or bought because, look, there was an election. It was pretty clear that we were going to have 3 pools in the city, all right? It was pretty clear that after enough discussion was had, that I thought, and those of us who did vote for that land purchase, it was in the best interest for us to get that land at this time because that was the case.
Now it's a
Now,
land
whether or not
purchase.
you agreed with the deal,
It's an
that's
asset
fine, you can
purchase.
discuss that.
It
What?
wasn't a land purchase, it was an asset purchase.
All right, well,
Mayor, may I?
Yeah, go
Please.
ahead.
This would be an excellent segue into the arena.
We got 10 minutes anyways.
yes, perfect timing, Patrick. Thank you.
That's fine.
Okay, the arena.
I mean, just on the bonding thing, if you think there's 4 votes on bonding, put it up.
I'm asking, that's what the question was for. Is there 4 votes to get the building, or do we purchase the building with a bonding agreement to do it, or do we rent?
Increase, I mean, increasing long-term debt, maybe in your, I'm, on my personal life, I don't like to increase long-term debt, but I don't like to pay interest rate and stuff like that, but that's me.
Well, versus taking it out of the...
Anyways,
Okay,
Rena.
arena, page 174, 175, no major changes.